Today's guest is Shelly St John, who is a successful public event fundraiser and fundraising auctioneer. She knows that raising awareness, support, and funding is more than just talking fast. Her mission is to help musicians, sports team associations, nonprofits, and schools build a stronger community together for charity through public event fundraising and charity auctioneering. She unites her public event planning skills, public speaking practice, and improv comedy into a high energy performance that achieves record breaking fundraising results nationwide. So, Shelly, thank you very much for being on. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic. Thank you. And again, I don't know who wrote that, but it sounds bigger than who I am. I'm just a small town girl.
Well, I would actually disagree that it sounds bigger than who you are, because I know we've had some chat before this went live and recorded. So I actually think you're underselling yourself in that statement. So why don't you just contextualize for us, how you got to doing what you're doing, and ultimately why I would make a comment like that, because I think you bring a lot to the table.
Well, thank you. I owned a marketing company for 20 years. And back in 2005, I had a life change. I got divorced after 15 years, no kids. I had the marketing company and I was looking for something new to do. So I just stumbled on being trained as an auctioneer. And when I saw the advertisement on television, not even a second went by. And I thought, well, I can do that, right? And I became trained as an auctioneer, and that new career began. So in the past 17 years, I've done over 700 events. I've raised over 135 million for charity, and here we are.
Love it. So I think if you can confidently say, like, with proof that you've raised 130 million, I don't think that's a small thing to do, right? And that's kind of why I was like celebrating you from the beginning. Yeah, own it, because I think that is super, super cool. And just to clarify for everybody listening, auctioneer as in, like, going once, going twice, sold, like that's your job.
That's right. I say all in, all done, last chance, and then sold. But you're exactly right.
Okay, well, fair enough. That's that's my own ignorance of the auctioneering world. So thank you for clearing that up.
Oh no,
Um,
that's what you hear, and everyone has their own personality. But I thought it was funny.
yeah, no, I get it. It absolutely works. Yeah. So then, you have this storied career, long time doing it, clearly an expert in your field, the results to show for it. So what are like the top problems that you are facing right now?
So I think the biggest challenge is competing with new auctioneers. When I began, I was one of a handful of dedicated benefit auctioneers and even a smaller handful of successful female benefit auctioneers across the country. And through the pandemic, people were looking for a side hustle. Many people got trained as auctioneers, right? And my industry as a live auctioneer in front of large audiences came to a screeching halt in early 2020 and is just coming back. So now I'm competing, even though I'm an expert in my field, I'm competing with much younger, less storied auctioneers who are charging half of what I do. So my biggest issue is being able to convey the value of why working with me will help them reach their goals.
Got it. And what are the thoughts that go through your head when you are having these negotiations or anticipating having them?
Well, as we shared earlier, it's like the Stuart Smalley from Saturday Night Live. Am I good enough? Am I smart enough? And do people like me? Right? And being able to convey that, because I'm not an arrogant individual. I don't like to be cocky. I am who I am. And quite frankly, if people are open to the strategies and the tactics that I share with them, we're going to have an amazing time working together. And for those that want to do things the same way that they've always done them forever and a day, then that's not my client, right? Because they're not open to how I can really make a difference for them.
Got it. So Is anybody ever going to give you more money than you ask for?
Well, that's a funny question. I probably not, right? I mean, you go in and you buy a Ferrari and it costs 150,000. Do you ever say to that dealership, I'm going to give you 175? You don't, right? So
Correct.
no, I think the answer is no.
Okay. So if the answer is no, then why are the other auctioneers and the companies that you're pitching the problem?
Well, obviously they're not. It's me, and I must not be explaining my value properly.
So yes, on the surface, I do agree with you. And here's the reason why I'm asking that question, right? So I started this interview by reading your bio, right? So the
Right?
first thing you did is you discounted it. You're like, oh, it's like who wrote that? It's not even that impressive, right? So you're like, I'm literally reading your bio, and I know you said it as a joke, but there's always like some truth behind jokes.
Self-deprecating, true. Yep.
Correct, right? So you're discounting your own expertise before we even start. Two, and I didn't even know this prior to us speaking, but like the biggest highlight of I've in my career have raised 130 million wasn't even in your bio. It was like an afterthought that like slipped through your conscious mind to like, oh yeah, and by the way, I also did that. It's like, what? Like that's like you should be leading with that, right?
Got it.
So before I even start, I'm discounting my value. I'm neglecting to show how actually good I am. And then my brain goes to, well, it's other auctioneers and companies and nonprofits that just don't value what I do. And I understand that nobody's ever going to pay me more than I ever ask for. So what lands for you when I reflect that back?
I all of it. I'm rarely rendered speechless, but for a second I was. So all of it. And I think maybe that's that underlying thing for me. And when we talk about head trash, is I don't want to come across arrogant. I don't want to come across like I'm better than anybody else. Although I'm super good at what I do, right? Um, maybe that's something that's holding me back.
Well, you tell me, like, do you think it is or isn't?
Well, I do tend to hide that, right? And I've done the math and many times over the past 17 years, and that is accurate. My company, I used to have other auctioneers, and I mean, I've trained really successful auctioneers who are doing the same thing, right? So I think that's my struggle to be humble, is not to lead with that.
So for those of you that are watching this on YouTube, right? Like I'm wearing a blue shirt. So if I come on here and I say I'm wearing a blue shirt, am I stating a fact or am I exaggerating reality?
You're stating a fact.
Correct. So if you have objective evidence that you have raised 130 million, why is that any different than me saying I'm wearing a blue shirt?
That's something to really think about, isn't it?
I would definitely think so. So are you okay if we dive a bit deeper into that?
Please.
Okay. So you have a fact that is a fact because it's verifiable. And the narrative around it is I don't want to be arrogant sharing facts. So is that actually arrogance?
No,
Okay. So what is it?
it's sharing facts.
Okay. And if you share a big fact about yourself, then fill in the blank.
If I share a big fact about myself, it's okay.
But your actions and result would say otherwise.
Absolutely. That's why I'm here talking about head trash.
Perfect. So then if we rewind if the surface level reaction is if I share a big fact about myself, then it's okay, reality disagrees, let's try the same statement again. If I share a big fact about myself, then fill in the blank.
I don't know where to go. If I share a big fact about myself, it's not arrogance. It is a fact. I don't know where else to go with that.
Beautiful. So I appreciate the honesty, because it's the realness that's going to allow you to go somewhere. And I know it's uncomfortable. So I just want to acknowledge you for allowing yourself to be witness and to go there, because I know it's not easy, especially when the mirror is now shined your way. So number one, I just want to make that clear, normalize this for you. So number two, instead of worrying about, okay, how do I complete that sentence? When you say that out loud, so when I share a big fact about, or if I share big facts about myself, then forget the if and the then, but sharing big facts about myself, how do you actually feel internally?
I'm afraid.
Okay. So great awareness. What are you afraid of?
Being judged. I mean, I have lived an amazing life. Before I became an auctioneer, before I was married, I have done and seen things that most people can only read about in books. And I don't share a whole lot of it because I guess I'm afraid of the response that I get.
Awesome. So great awareness. And I know there's tenderness there, especially around judgment. So by all means, like, don't feel pressured that you need to share details of it. Like, as I told you
Right.
before the recording, I'm happy to go as far as you want to go with
Right.
this. So there's a level of like subconscious or internal, like it's not safe to go there. Like it's not safe to be big. It's not safe to shine. It's not safe to state how good I actually am. Like, does that resonate with you?
Yes. Yes, it does.
Okay, perfect. So it makes sense why when I initially prompted you to go there, your brain immediately shot to like the right answer. Well, of course it's okay if I share facts. Clearly, like it's fine. I guess, I just need to get you like a very non-committal, surface level deflective answer. Okay. So there's some deep wounding around what it means for you to actually shine. Okay. So before I go on, does that land for you?
I I think you might be right. I can't say absolutely because I haven't really thought about it, but there's something underlying. Absolutely.
Perfect. So if we switch gears a little bit, right? You have now a clear understanding of the pattern. So there is this fear of judgment, this safety of being in your bigness, this discounting of how good I actually am, right? Cumulatively, this turtling pattern, right? Like I will hide and dim my light, okay? This hiding sentiment. How is that creating problems in your business?
Well, um, I'm not a lot. I don't think I'm allowing myself to earn more, right? And then I don't mean just dollars, right? Earn more clients or earn one of my new ventures to be successful, right? It's always more comfortable to remain in the background instead of taking those risks of being judged and doing a podcast like this or throwing out video every day, right? It's easier to live in the fear than it is to live outside of it at this point for me.
So beautiful awareness and beautiful in connecting the different pieces, right? It's not just about I'm in front of a new client and we're having a negotiation and I'm basically negotiating against myself, it's also new opportunities, more clients, bigger clients, visibility, right? The fulfillment that comes from like 17 years experience is like a long time. 130 million raised is like expert level. Like I can't imagine an organization that wouldn't, like you're talking about, okay, I'm competing against younger
Less
auctioneers.
experienced, yes.
Like what more negotiation do you have than like, do you want somebody who did this like weekend workshop last week, or do you want somebody who's raised 130 million? Like we're not even in the same ball game. You know what
But
I
I
mean?
get that. I get that. There's this one organization. I had 2 or 3 Zooms with them. They were amazing. I actually even have rock climbed around the animals that they're trying to save, right? And so we talked about those stories in depth and how much I know about what animal they're trying to save. And in the end, they're like, "We love you. You've got great ideas. You're fantastic, but we need to spend a little less this year." But that's my industry. And I can't fault them specifically because they think they're short-sighted and they need to have one budget item because they're afraid, maybe they're afraid like me, of being successful.
So if you now turn that around to the only pieces you actually control there, because their budget, their decisions, their head trash is theirs, right? Like you have nothing to do with that.
Right.
However, the common denominator here is you keep being in front of these people, right? Energetically or subconsciously, however you want to interpret it, you are seeking out, accepting, and moving into positions to be around people who perfectly reflect your fears, who perfectly reflect your turtling, who perfectly reflect you playing small. Like your results are directly proportional to the turtling and smallness that you see in yourself.
Wow. That's crazy to think about. And so, in thinking about that, 5, 6 years ago, I didn't have all this head trash. In this, I'm sure I've always had it, but in this specific topic we're talking about, I didn't have it. Maybe I am reflecting it. Maybe that's how I got it.
Okay. So what happened 5 years ago?
I was busier than I've ever been. I was actually too busy. I was doing 60 events a year. I was managing 2 other auctioneers. I didn't have time to think, eat, you know, and it just had happened, right? And then the pandemic, and then after that, and family things, whatever. I just wasn't as visible. But I think part of that rubs off. I used to take everything personally, right? If I came off a stage and I raised 900% a goal, I'd be ecstatic. Everything's good. I'd walk off a stage and I only did 80% a goal, and I would take it on myself. What did I do wrong? But I am not in control of a million details leading up to me taking stage. So I can't take that responsibility on myself. I didn't invite people. I didn't create the snowstorm. I didn't make dinner last an hour too long. I didn't invite the speaker that took 45 minutes when they were supposed to have 10, right? All of these things that impact my job, I had no control over, but I always used to take that personally.
Okay. So I think your awareness as far as like seeing the overarching pattern, or like at least like you're aware of what's going on, is really keen. So I just wanted to commend you for that, because that's a great starting spot. And like people that end up in front of me and in my world and getting coached by me and doing all the things, it's never their first foray into personal development. So I can understand why you are diving into this now, because I can see there's a part of you that's ready to really face this. So I just wanted to normalize that for you, because initially there was like a shock of like, oh, like how did I not see this, right?
Right.
So, two, thank you for sharing that, because now it opens up a second and potentially third door, right? So, one is, well, you're prejudging yourself before anybody else has a chance to judge you,
Right.
right? You are taking on the responsibility of like 10 other variables that go into a successful fundraising thing. Like you said, the organization, the guest list, the actual event organization, those are all very key variables in who puts out money for fundraising. You
Right.
are one cog in that machine. So if it's a crappy setup and you get 80% of the goal, that's a pretty successful save out of the whole thing, right? Potentially, right? I don't know the details, but I'm just
Right.
reflecting back to you. So
Right.
you're prejudging yourself in putting standards that set you up for failure right from the start. They're impossible to reach. Okay. Two, when I initially reflected back to you all of the sentiments of like you're putting yourself in situations where you're reflecting back lack, and you're like, well, 5 years ago, this wasn't an issue. What happened 5 years ago? So 5 years ago, everything was going great. I was working so hard. Everything was just a whirlwind. That opens up the door to explore if that time of your life when you were like, kicking butt and taking names ended up becoming so overwhelming, there could be a part of you that's like, I do not want to be successful. I don't want to go through, like, if success means having to live through all of that again, I don't want it. Right. So, what lands for you from any of that?
Well, that's really true. And that happened the summer of 2018. I I just after the winter and spring season, I was just um done. It was hard for me to even think about doing that. And was it what because during that hugely successful time, I wasn't able to date. I because I never knew what night I'd be available or if I'd feel like even going somewhere the next day after a grueling week schedule, right? Um, I I barely saw my friends because of the same thing. And maybe there was a point of that in the summer of 2018. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't work 70 hours a week. It I can't take care of my life and do that. Or I can't have a life and do that. So what you're suggesting is maybe that was a key to my success now is I'm afraid that if I do all those things, that I'll get back into that same cycle, which I don't want to be in.
Correct. So, you're basically on this never ending hamster wheel where in your past, objectively in your career, you got everything you've ever wanted.
Absolutely.
Super successful. I'm training people. I'm closing 130 million. Like, I'm kicking butt and taking names. And yet I have zero fulfillment. I can't date. I can't see my friends. I'm working 70-hour weeks. Like, nothing exists but this thing that I've chased for so long. So
Right. You're exactly right.
subconsciously, that's a no bueno situation. Like, I don't want to go back there. Right. Okay. Now we get this fresh start after COVID. So you overcorrect. So now, if I can't work like crazy to make up for, you know, all of this like lack that I'm attracting, all I'm left with is, and I know this isn't true, but I'm just saying it for example, like the lowest end versions and jobs that are perfectly reflective of my attitude. I'm discounting myself. I'm turtling because I'm so scared that if I play large, I'm not going to have a life again. So what lands for you there?
Well, that I think there's some validity in that. And that's why I'm working on this entirely new project in fundraising and doing concert fundraising, right? Because when I land my first band and go to every one of their concert tours, over an 8-week period, I'll be done with that, right? But there's so much more fundraising that can be done in that. So, I mean, it's more fun. It's right. So it's taking what I've done over a period of years, extrapolating all of the good stuff and learning the lessons from the bad. I call that the victories and the blunders, right? And then rolling it into kind of a new wave of our world in terms of helping people that need help, right?
So beautiful. I'm glad that you're looking for a new out. What's the common denominator between the new venture and the old?
Raising money for charity.
Yes. And what else?
There are 27 decision makers and variables in the old way, and not as many variables and less people involved in what I do in the new.
Okay. Also agreed. So let me ask this a different way. Are you still the one that makes both happen?
Yes.
Okay. Does the head trash and the baggage go with you in whatever venture you choose to go to next?
Well, the answer that everyone would want is of course not, right? But that we know is not true. I would hope that I could take the learnings, the lessons, and the blunders to inform how I do the next, but leave the baggage behind.
I would definitely agree with you. And that makes sense. Does that feel true for you right now when you say that?
That's hard to answer yes or no because I'm not so deep into the new thing that I know what that's going to be, right? I would hope, but everything that we're talking about with head trash and how I'm marketing it and what I'm saying about it and using my leveraging my successes to make that happen, I'm not doing that. I'm hiding that just like I did in the old.
Sorry, like you're still hiding back like you did in the old? That is that what you're saying?
Yeah, when I'm marketing the new stuff, I'm still um hiding the facts, right? When
Okay,
I need to be
perfect.
leading that going, I am the person that you need to do this, and this is why,
Okay, so
right?
that was the question that I was getting at, right? Because when we started probing deeper into, okay, so you're in this limbo state, what's next? How's that going to change? Where your brain went to is, okay, well, I'm going into this new venture. I'm going to fix the mistakes and it's going to be different. And then when we started probing that further, you're like, oh, wait, but I'm still bringing the same hiding and hiding of the facts to this venture.
Right.
So that's where I'm getting at with the question of what's the common denominator? You can change the wall color, you can change the fixtures. If the foundation is shaky, you're always going to be at risk of doing the exact same thing.
Right.
So what lands for you there?
Oh, what's the common denominator? Me, right? I mean, what is
Correct.
it? Is it the fear of judgment? Maybe it's the other piece that I think I need to really consider is the lack, right? And working with people in that lack. The new venture, I don't believe I'll be that close to people with lack because it's about fun, it's about music, it's about yeah, it's a different it's a different life. Within the nonprofit, it's really so much about lack.
Agreed. And I love that you're going in that direction. I think that is a perfect breeding ground for who you want to become. But again, going back to the original question we started this interview with, Are people ever going to pay you more than you're willing to ask for?
Well, no.
Correct. So even if you're stepping into, let's just say, the for-profit space where it's fun, it's exciting, there's big money in it, etc., it, like, your abundance from that space is going to be perfectly reflective of your sense of inner abundance, your sense of inner worth, your sense of self-identity around what you bring to the table, your
Absolutely.
sense of value. So
Absolutely.
do you see how your brain always goes to them? Because there's so much hurt in looking at the me aspect of this.
My brain goes to who? Goes to the
So
people
it
who are
went to
in
the industry in this instance. Like, I'm switching industries, therefore things will be better.
right.
But you're the common denominator amongst all of them.
So I have to be better.
Correct. Put a different way, your tolerance for lack is so much higher than your standards for abundance.
And I will tell you that I have done a lot of work in those areas, as you can imagine, right? Self development, whatever we call it. And I have really evaluated who I the small things of who I want in my circle and who I'm willing to allow in my circle and what is valuable to me, what I say yes to and what I say no to. Right. So I've done a lot of that, and hopefully that is helping me create that place of self-value and self-worth.
So I think it should be celebrated, the things that you've done, right? Because they got you to this point. Like,
Yes.
it's not wasted effort to do all of that because it brought you to this point.
Right.
I think the part that I'm inviting you to consider is the work that you've done has brought you to this point and allowed you to create the results that you've created so far. And the reason you're here today is because those results are not reflective of what you actually want. Right? Like, all of the work I've done has led to me being ready to face the fact that I hide my bigness. I turtle in bigness. I don't value myself in the way that's reflective of my actual expertise.
Right.
Right? That's not to judge the work that you've done in the past. It's to celebrate. I'm ready to take that work to the next level if I want the business results that I say that I want.
And it's okay to celebrate that. It's okay to play big. And it's
Absolutely.
okay to play in that big world.
It is. And I know you understand that mentally, but your
Right.
results, your reactions, and your embodiment says otherwise.
Right.
So I understand your desire. Your desire is palpable. Like, I have all this experience. I know what I can bring to the table. I can see the big vision of what I want. Great. All of your work has been mental. You haven't begun to really embody that in a confidence that's going to bleed out into your negotiations and actually get you the results that you want.
Wow.
So what's landing for you there?
I think what you say is true. I have to stop playing small, and I see that so clearly in my life. Is playing small. And I
Perfect.
see it from years ago. And you're right. There's some stuff that's very deep seated in that. It's not just what happened last year or 5 years ago. It's what happened 30 years ago. It's what happened 40 years ago. Right. And so to be able to go back and see how those situations all culminated in me figuring out it was safer to play small than to play big.
Yes. That's the crux of it right there. right? When we touched on that edge where you were like, ooh, did this bit here, it's not safe. Like I'm going to be judged and it's not safe to be big. Whatever your life details are from that, that's going to be a big part of your healing this part of you. Okay.
Yeah, I can see that.
Beautiful. So just to then take that one step further, if you lost the ability to engage in these limits, you lost the ability to worry about being judged, to play small, right? Magic wand.
Right.
Who would you be without those limits?
Well, I would still be me,
Sure.
right? But I wouldn't be afraid to be who I am. I wouldn't be afraid to be absolutely authentic in everything that I do. And to be that ball of energy that I am, right? Because so often I hold myself back for this person or this event or this job, right? And I have grown weary of that, right? So in order to play big, I have to not, this is going to sound bad. I have to not care. And I don't mean not care, right? But you have to really go think, you know what? I am who I am. And I do have gifts and I do have important things to share with the world. And quite frankly, I would not be on this earth today unless there were things left for me to do. God has had many chances to take my life, and he has brought me back to the same place I am today, trying to figure out what is next so that I can make the impact that I'm supposed to impact.
So that right there, like if you rewind back what just happened, like your energy was like up here,
Yeah,
whereas before it was down here. And it makes sense. Like we're talking about different things. But what I just want to contrast to you is like, even when your brain was like arguing against, like trying to go to that, oh no, but it's like the industry, it's the other people, it's their lack, your energy is very down.
right.
As soon as you begin to like even peak at who you could be without these limits, total like different energy. And
Absolutely. And that is what I've had to hide is who I am and that level of energy. And I don't want to hide it anymore.
yes. So what would you create if you didn't have to hide anymore?
I'm not sure how to answer that question. What would I create in myself? What would I create in my world?
All of the above in your business, in your life. Like right now, your default pattern is hiding and turtling. If you lost the ability to hide and turtle, what would you create?
I would create this new direction in my life and I would have a freaking blast doing it.
And what would that look like more specifically?
I would get this concert fundraising piece off, this public event fundraising, and I would be fundraising for people that need it. I would be raising millions and millions and millions of dollars for organizations. I would be setting musicians up with things to really leave a legacy in their world, and we'd be helping causes that really need the help.
Okay. How do you feel in that space?
I I feel amazing. My life kind of started in the music world, and not that I can sing a note, but friends of friends and whatever happened back then. And I kind of feel like it's fitting to at the beginning of my life to kind of take that pause at the end of my life and have that same kind of fun.
Love it. Okay. So that's your contrast right now. This is the possibility in the desire, in the vision. My patterns right now are the bottleneck to me moving and stepping into and embodying, becoming the Shelly that can actually create these results.
That's right.
Okay. So why don't you summarize that and your realizations in your own words?
Uh, well, of course you said it best, but I think it's taking that fear-based safeness and allowing it to take space somewhere else. I'm always going to have it, but I need to recognize what it is when it is, so that I'm not driven by it. I need to be less concerned about what others think and what others think of me, because not everybody's my client, not everybody's my friend, nor could they be, right? Um, it's just such a big world. Um, and I need to just continue to do in the space and in the energy I know that's going to bring me the most joy in my life.
Love it. Beautifully said. So thank you very much for allowing yourself to go there, for allowing yourself to be witnessed to go there. Um, I know we can't get to like eliminating all of these in this podcast episode, but does that feel complete for you, or is there still something left outstanding?
No, I think I have a lot to think about. And I think I have a lot to recognize in terms of my patterns and why I've allowed myself to be in this space.
Beautiful. So why don't you then just close us off and let everybody know where to find you, who's the best person to find you? The floor is yours for
Oh
that.
my gosh. And well, anyone who wants to raise money for charity, if you know of a band that is doing concert tours, that it has a passion for saving the whales or kids with cancer or ALS, I am your girl to raise money for them, to help them with their foundation or their charity. If there is a benefit auction that you need help with, I'm your girl to help you raise the most money possible. You can find me at theauctiondivas.com or at liveeventfundraising.com.
Love it. Well, Shelly, thank you very much for being on and allowing us, like I said, to witness the unpacking of all of this. And for everybody else listening, we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Appreciate it.